In this particular chickadee, the white goes all the way around the tip of the tail. And that suggests to me that this is actually what we would call an after second year bird. It's at least 2 years old. Okay, there's some other characteristics though that are telling me, like these feathers are really worn. And what happens with all birds is when they hatch, they have their set of wing feathers. They'll keep those wing feathers for a whole year, but they'll molt their body feathers. So you can sometimes see differences in the color of their wing feathers, which are older and tattered, and some of the other plumage characteristics on their body. And this guy has just enough variation that I'm going to call it, I'll call it an after hatch year bird. So I won't try to get it down to whether it's a second year or an after second year bird. So and we know it's an after hatch year bird because there really aren't that many small songbirds that have young at this point in time. So we're probably not going to catch a hatch year bird in the nets in May like this. So now that I've got that, and I'll record that, all of this data goes down to the bird banding lab down in Washington, D.C., or actually Laurel, Maryland. I'm going to do now, chickadees are notorious escape artists. So I've got my scale here.
Look, he's one on the scale.
Poor little guy.
And this guy is coming in at 15.5 grams, again using the metric system, so really light.
So tiny.
Oh, we've collected all the data, so now the last part is to let this bird go. You know what that is, right? And I'm just gonna, and if he nips you, it doesn't hurt.
Watch.
And make a little cage around his body. Okay, just like that. Now turn your other hand over flat. And just open your hand. Oh! This is what's called a nano tag. Okay, it's a small little backpack that we put on the back of wood thrushes, and it transmits a signal, much like your cell phone transmits a signal to a tower. And there are multiple towers, Modus towers are called, all over the U.S., Canada, down through Central America, and there are even some now more and more in South America. So what we did last summer as part of a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service project, we put these little backpacks on wood thrush. And we put one on a wood thrush just up the trail here. And that bird pinged, went down the East Coast, and the last ping we had of it, the last tower it struck, was in southern Belize. It may have stayed there. It may have gone a little bit further and not come close to a tower. But just recently, and I haven't checked, but my office mate told me that this bird now has just recently pinged off the Shelburne Tower.
Oh, wow.
So there's a likelihood that this wood thrush, it's in the area, but there's a likelihood that it's probably back on its breeding ground. It was a male just up the trail here. And so these nano tags and the Modus tracking network is a way for us to better understand bird migration. Because we know a lot, and wood thrushes have been declining for 20, 30 years now. They're a priority species. And so we know a lot about their breeding ground. We know some about their wintering ground. But knowing how they migrate and how we might be able to protect places that they use on their way up and back is the goal of this project. And there were about 500 of these tags put on last year, 550. And again, we're waiting for that data to come in. I'll put on another 8 this summer at various different locations here in the Champlain Valley. With this tag, I have to catch a bird that weighs at least 45 grams to make sure it's not too heavy. But they now have tags like this that are small enough to go on bees. And they just glue the little tag on the back of the bee. Dragonflies, the biggest limitation with the small tags is the battery life.
Oh, sure.
So this big bulb at the top is the battery, and this one pulses sends out a signal every 15 seconds. And so it can last roughly 400 days. Enough for a full migration cycle.
That's so cool.
See, 1581 82339. And our golden winged warbler, by the way, down there came in, flew over the nest. He wasn't having anything to do with it. So I wasn't able to get him. So now I'm going to put this band on.
Wooden bird ornaments and gift shop at the museum. They're using those as decoys to call in.
And now he has a bracelet. Okay? And the bracelets are made, the bands are made out of aluminum, and I get them from the from the bird banding lab. So U.S. Geological Service is the ones that are in charge here. And I'll basically do the same thing that I did with that chickadee. So wood thrushes, like chickadees, both the male and female look the same. Okay? And you got to remember, look at the size of those eyes. Proportionally, if we had eyes that big, they'd be the size of plates. So many birds sacrifice one other sense in order to accommodate those eyes. Any thoughts? Smell, yeah. Except for things like vultures.
Yes.
'Cause they like to smell dead things. So big eyes on the side of the head, right? Because this is something that might get eaten by somebody else, so he can see around the corners. And what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what age this bird is. And I can tell right off that this bird is a bird that was hatched last year. So you see these little dots at the top of their wing there? Okay? That little bit of light coloring on the end of its secondary plumage tells me that plumage was plumage that it had last summer and carried with it through the winter. Adults would have molted that plumage out. A great bird, again, diversity here at the park. Everything from golden winged warblers that like the shrubby stuff, bobolinks, to some of our forest species that are common here. So it's one of the reasons that birders love to visit the park, and why, I don't know if this guy's going to sit. Are you going to sit nice? Can I dress you up a little bit?
When you say the older birds would go for the deep stuff, where would that be?
So that would be maybe further into the Green Mountains. So out of the Champlain Valley and up into the larger forest patches. Here in the Champlain Valley, that might be like Snake Mountain, which has a big forest patch. And so, they'll take advantage of, they won't go high elevation. What's cool about thrushes is we have veeries, which like low elevation wet stuff. Then we have wood thrushes, kind of in between. You go up a little bit higher in elevation, you get your hermit thrushes. A little bit higher up in elevation, you get your Swainson's thrushes. And all the way at the top, you get your Bicknell's thrushes. So there's kind of a stratification of thrushes depending on elevation. Okay, now. Awesome bugger. I mean, it's great to hear. It's great to hear. He's up there buzzing away, and that's perfect for, we just managed this this area here last winter?
2 winters.
2 winters ago. Yes.
2 winters ago.
2 winters ago, because we managed another section up the thing that was in the fall of last year. And so again, this is just we probably have 4 winged warblers in this zone. I know of 2 golden wings or 3, and then when I was down there trying to catch the golden wing, I heard another one come in. And they nest kind of, I don't want to say colonial, but they nest in clumps. And the female can be the driver of the whole system. So one study showed that females put their nest just outside their male's territory, and that the males will go and they'll sing in the morning on their territory, and then they skulk around looking for extra pair copulations. And then at the end of the day, They head up into the woods. But that female can have upwards of 40% different genetic material in her eggs. So she could be breeding with a number of different males. And again, that kind of fast forwards this hybridization process.
Describe where she nests. Show.
So a golden-winged warbler nest, let's use this right here. So, and one of the reasons they like this low shrubby habitat is they nest right down here on the ground at the base of this nest, of this stick. And the female, who is very, we rarely see females, we rarely catch females, but the female will come in and use this like a fire pole and go whoop, zoom, down to her nest. So they will skulk around, and unlike the males, which sometimes you can set up a net and you can do a little playback and that bird will be right in the net, we rarely catch or see females around. And, you know, one last piece is we like to think of these birds, oh, here we go. We like to think of these birds as our birds, right? And then they go, you know, there are birds, and then they fly down to South America, Central America. But if you think about it, what was sitting on top of us 10,000 years ago?
Ice glacier.
A big piece of ice, right? All the way down in New York. There weren't any birds here. So it could be that these are all tropical birds that we're hearing, right? That basically as the glaciers retreated, they're like, man, it's crowded here. Maybe if we go a little bit further, there's going to be some more food and more space. And over time, as those glaciers retreated, these tropical birds just started leapfrogging further and further, and then they head home in the wintertime. You know, we're a little bit, you know, North America centric and think they're ours. But they really may be tropical birds that are just taking advantage of our buggy springs and summers in order to raise their chicks. At least the ones that migrate.
The property due north of this contiguous property has a federal grant for golden wing warbler management. And then across the street, Cornell on the Nordic farm got a grant, and then Beach Cove Trust manages their land for golden winged warblers. So one of the things that's come out of this is, what's it called? The golden
Ties it all together.
And how important not just having islands of habitat, but having connectivity in order for the birds to be successful.
Mark, how is or I don't know if you monitor well enough to know how the sort of larger Champlain Valley population of golden wings is doing. Is it a stable, increasing, decreasing?
So that is one of the things that we're looking at. So I'm funded to do this work by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and we're actually in our second year of doing point counts on these managed areas to see not so much how many birds there are, but to try to get an idea of the percentage of golden wings to blue wings, to see whether or not golden wings are strong enough here. And what the National Fish and Wildlife, or NIFWIF, wants to know is they want to maintain at least 20% golden winged warblers within the Champlain Valley. And at least on most of our surveys, it's a small sample size, we're above 20%. So they seem to be holding on. Oftentimes we find blue-winged warblers in much more open, fields, hay fields with shrubby edges, and you'll find the blue wings and some of the hybrids. And then as you get into these denser little pockets, we tend to pick up golden wings. So again, the combination of shrub, young forest, and forest may lean itself towards golden wings. Although we've had blue wings here, we've had hybrids here. With climate change, we may be receiving the Appalachian population, right? There's a whole population that stretches along the Appalachian, which is really in decline. They may be moving up into our zone. We did a geolocator work where we put a little backpack on these golden wings, and we found that 5 of the birds that returned hung out in Central America, Panama, Costa Rica. 2 of them went to Colombia. And South America seems to be where the Appalachian population winters, and Central America is where the Great Lakes population winters. And so the fact that we got birds, again, a small sample size, from both of those locations may mean that we're in an overlap zone. So we really don't know. Years ago when we first started doing this, the Golden Wing Warbler Conservation Plan, which was put together, had the Southern Champlain. The goal was to have 20 pairs or 25 pairs by 2025. When we started going out and looking and doing some of our early surveys, we guesstimated 200 to 300 pairs here in the Champlain Valley. This old farmland, old ag land that's slowly transitioning is just perfect habitat. So all of a sudden, we're basically in New England, the largest, if not only, population of golden wings is here in the Champlain Valley.
Lewis Creek Association, and one of the things that we have worked with the park on here is water quality related projects. So you're in the Holmes Brook watershed. This little creek or brook runs straight down into Lake Champlain from where you are. You're kind of at the headwaters of Holmes Brook. And Holmes Brook has just recently been deemed impaired by the state and by US EPA. So that just means that there are problems with the brook. It does not do very good for like aquatic life, fish, all those sorts of things. So there are too many nutrients in the brook and too much sediment in the brook. So too much soil and stuff washing down, maybe covering up aquatic insects, not allowing them to thrive. And part of the reason for that is because of sort of former agricultural practices here, right? We were allowing, cows and clearing right down to the stream edge. But also, like riparian encroachment. So, people sort of getting right close to the stream with their, mowing their lawns perhaps, or that type of thing. So with that impairment, we also have these really highly erodible soils. So we kind of have this stuff where if it's there, it's gonna wash away, right? You get a big rainstorm, washing down into the creek. So back in 2017, on one of the upper fields, which if you sort of keep walking up this way, there was some erosion happening in like a swale along the edge of the field. And we were able to get a grant along sort of partnership with the park and partnership with the town to do some work to repair that erosion in the swale. So there were some log sort of structures that were put in to help stop that erosion, along with some rock lining to sort of trap the sediment before it washes down into the brook. So if you were to continue up this trail and hang a right and sort of go up the hill trail, one of those upper fields, you'll see one of our little ahead of the storm signs. It's just a little circular sign, and that's kind of where that work was done in the swale leading down to the brook. And hopefully we'll continue to do that type of work. But it's something for you all to think about too. If you live in the area or live anywhere else really in any of these watersheds, we have really high nutrient levels in our streams, and that's partially because of former agriculture and fertilizer that's in the soil now. So when the soil washes off into the stream, it brings that nutrient with it into the lake and can contribute to blue-green algae blooms and that type of thing. So something to think about when you're considering your practices at home, like how can I keep my soil on my property, my water on my property, not let it run off into the stream. Maybe it's planting some trees along along a little ditch or a little stream near you, and just trying your best to contribute to maintaining the water quality here in our streams and down in Lake Champlain as well.
So we also don't have beavers anymore. It's just
they've moved
bring
on.
our beavers back into the conversation.
Ago,
We had several beavers and moved in to the lower it was an abandoned. Did you hear it? Yeah. It was abandoned dam, and they came up into the park, and of course, what they instantly start doing is human conflict. They started blocking the culverts, so to put a beaver deceiver on the culvert with the hope that we could move them upstream. And within what? A year, they did exactly what we wanted them to do. And it was incredible that they built 14 or 15 check dams as they went up the stream. This area, what Mark has his mist net up, but once he takes it down, you can walk. They put a big dam, which is now, not functioning, but they flooded this whole area. And one of the people on our committees and Bob Himes put on waders, and the pond they built was waist deep. It was amazing, and it killed the honeysuckle. So it's creative. Awesome. But of course, what happened was that beavers, they're farmers. They used what we had, and now they've moved along. So one of the things we've been actively planting is beaver food. So when they come back, our beavers come. But the reason I bring that up is exactly what Kate's talking about. The water quality was unbelievable. Like, this brook was crystal clear, and it slows the water down if you were having a big undercut problem. And the 4 years they were here, we just saw such an amazing transition in water quality.
It's really cool.
So
yeah, they're doing some interesting work now, making these, they call them beaver dam analogs. So
yeah,
sort of like a beaver dam, but made by humans, and they're working on installing those in various places, usually in sort of headwaters, smaller streams, but also as part of dam removals often. So they'll take out a man-made dam and maybe install, a series of man-made beaver dams and plant beaver food.
yeah.
So the beavers hopefully do come in and
Also, I think that's for water, keeping the stream in flood zones where there aren't beavers.
Yeah, I mean, it helps, so it can help, like, as the stream floods, like if it's really cut, right, it's really in size, and stream's down here and the floodplain's up high, if you have a beaver dam, it allows that stream to flood and come out and, flood out onto the floodplain where the sediment can settle out and, improve water quality that way. It drops the sediment, drops the nutrients out onto the floodplain as opposed to just washing down the stream. So any of those, like, natural beaver dams or man-made dams, sometimes we'll do like log or rock structures in the stream, really to sort of lock in and help raise the stream bed and allow the water to flood out onto the floodplain. Beaver ponds provide a really important habitat for amphibians too. Eastern newts in particular are sort of tied to beaver ponds, so they're young. The adults live in the ponds, they lay eggs in the ponds, and the little young salamander larvae grow up in the ponds. But then they leave, so the young, when they hatch out in the fall, become the little red F's that you see walking around. They wander around on land for anywhere up to about 7 or 8 years. And their job really is to colonize a different beaver pond. So they're gonna, walk over the forest, over the hill, find the next beaver pond, so that when this one degrades, dam washes out, their parents get washed downstream, no big deal. The young are out, and they've found the next pond over, and they drop into that pond as adults, and so then they transform and live their lives in that next beaver pond.